Thank you so much, Maggie. Let me just stop sharing that screen. And if you could just highlight us, thank you so much. So welcome everyone to Tech Talk. And as everyone knows throughout this webinar series, really our goal is to educate everyone on current assistive technologies. And today we'll be talking about stuff from the year, as well as some maybe new stuff coming up soon in the next year. Through technology tutorials, expert speakers like we have Norbert here today, guests, and most importantly, all of you, the users of assistive technology. We're all here to learn together. And one important thing to remember is that each person's vision loss is unique to them, and so is the technology that someone uses. So it's about exploring these options and finding out what's best for you. So as always, I got Chanel Matos here. Hello, Chanel.
Hello, so excited. This has been a huge year.
Yes, it's been a huge year. It's almost over. And I'm really excited, though, that Norbert's here. Norbert Rum, hello.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. We're so happy to have you here today, Norbert. So we were just talking before we came on. We've known each other about 10 years. And let me tell you, Norbert is passionate about accessibility and about inclusive digital environments. And he's also the creator of the largest online community for the blind called Our Blind on Reddit. And we'll talk more about that as well. So it's a great hub for learning and sharing about innovation and assistive technology and all the stuff we're going to talk about. And Norbert, I've learned a lot from you. So thank
Oh,
you.
thank you.
Thank you. So today's rundown, pretty much we're going to review 2024 a little bit. I know Chanel, you were saying, we might not hit on everything that's come out this year. We have a lot to just get to, but we're going to try our best to get to, as much as we can. We're also going to discuss Reddit and the R Blind community. We'll talk about the basics of it and get a little bit in the weeds with it. And then we're going to get into web accessibility and where we are now with that and the future of it. And also why Europe is so far ahead of us here in the US. Right, Norbert?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's way more advanced than the
I
US
know.
is right now.
So there's a lot of apps, devices, and programs that we'll be bringing up today. So much advancements, especially this year with AI. So this year has been the year of AI, the year of artificial intelligence, I would call it.
Absolutely.
And yeah, we all hear about ChatGPT and other AI advancements, and those specifically used by people who are with vision loss specifically. I know we wanted to first bring up ones that you've been using. So Chanel, what have you been using mostly, let's say this year, as far as artificial intelligence?
Well, I think like most of us, the Amazon Echo is definitely my most used device. Um, but with that, I use ChatGPT on my computer. I use the Meta for my glasses anytime I'm on the go. But on my phone, I actually have been switching between Pi and the Envision Ally app. I've been having fun playing with that.
So for anyone who doesn't know, the Envision Ally app is actually in beta, and you have to sign up for that one. We can send everybody links to that one. So it's a new AI app that's out there. But we've seen this year Meta Ray-Ban glasses, which how long ago did we do a talk on that, Chanel?
Oh, I want to say in spring we want
Okay,
to did
right.
it.
In the spring. So maybe it's time for a new one sometime early next year because it's been gaining a lot of popularity. What have you heard about it, Norbert?
It's in our blind community. There's a few users that have started using it. Um, it's it's slow progress. They're more excited about the next chapter of those glasses, which is exciting as well. But people are starting to go, oh, this is a new concept, new way of getting some information from the world. So it's a great push in technology.
Right. So if anyone's not familiar, it's basically, the AI in general is taking a picture, giving a scene description, and being able to ask questions about the environment, about text, about really anything that it's taking a picture of. And the glasses support taking a picture. And what's great about the Meta glasses, it looks like a pair of Ray-Ban Wayfarers, which are actually really stylish. And the cost is been very much less than things in the past.
Under $300, which is incredible
Right.
price.
And then recently in 2024, well, more recent is, well, throughout 2024, we've had also Be My Eyes. Now roll out Be My AI. And so you're able to utilize and basically an AI on your phone to take a picture and give you back a scene description and ask questions. However, Be My AI is now integrated with Meta Ray-Ban glasses most recently. Now, Chanel, I know we were talking the other day about it. Were there some issues that some people were having with it?
Yes, there's definitely some bugs. It's definitely in its new baby phase of coming out. So be kind, everyone, because there are some bugs, some problems. They're working on it. They're trying to smooth it out. But with any new technology, just remember that if you keep at it, you keep working with them, more often than not, it improves. But if you give up on them, then they give up on fixing it.
Exactly.
Right. Right. So just to repeat, so now you could use Be My Eyes off of your Meta Ray-Ban glasses. And basically it's when you wanted to get someone some sighted assistance, you would call in and get a volunteer. But also you can use just Be My AI and take a picture through their app on your phone and get a scene description and ask questions about it. So it's pretty cool where we're at.
Yes, and it's highly detailed. So it's wonderful. You get, there's sparkling, reflective blue coming off of, it's like details that the average person doesn't think to give you. So it's really nice.
So that extra descriptions we get, and they're trying to build on that as well, because they're also asking people to describe imagery that they regularly see and add to the data sets for these, which means something as familiar as a coin, like a quarter, for example. How else can you describe it? How else can you add to else can you add to it? So they're enhancing it with this, with with these data sets. It's really incredible.
And Be
Right.
My AI has even gone so far as to implement Microsoft incorporations, which they've always had. Be My Eyes always had Microsoft as an option for connecting with so that you can get one of their agents. But now their AI actually has a Microsoft database that correlates with JAWS. So if you're a JAWS user and you're trying to figure out something with Microsoft, and maybe you just want to learn how to pin an icon to your desktop or whatever that it may be, it will give you step-by-step instructions on how to do that simply by asking the AI in Be My AI, and it'll give you it with JAWS rather than just giving you the traditional Microsoft patent answer, which is really nice for those of us who use JAWS.
And it's all added in with ChatGPT, so it's trying to get as much as a friendly user step-by-step process, which is really nice.
Right. Now, and also you're mentioning JAWS, Chanel. So JAWS again is a screen reader. Just for anyone who doesn't know out there what JAWS is. However, they have their own AI integration with Picture Smart. So do you want to hit on that a little bit, Chanel?
Yeah, so Picture Smart basically is the same concept as the AI taking a photo and then giving you description of what that is, or being able to pull text out of an image. Because as we all know, we get sent pictures, memes, or
graphs.
Someone takes a photo of a graph or anything like that, and they hand it to you like, here you go, and you're going, okay, great. Well, when you scan it with Picture Smart on your computer, it can pull that image and pull all that text and data right out in a usable, editable I wouldn't say HTML, a text format for you to use.
And one clear purpose with this enhancement is it's also helping young kids who are in school, for example, or adults and going through further education and providing support for things such as graphs and more detailed information to be described for them, which is incredible to see that.
And it's expanding work options for those of us who are in the workforce.
Yes.
Now, one thing ChatGPT talked about, I guess about a year ago, was, and we were hoping to see it by now, which is the ability of AI to do dynamic video, or because we talked about multimodal, where AI can do multiple different things. That's text, video to text, or picture to text, and things such as that. We have an app called like PickyBot. I don't know if you've tried that one, Norbert or Chanel.
Yeah.
I
I've
haven't.
Okay. But so PickyBot, you can take a video and then PickyBot will explain the video to you. But it's a video you already took. So ChatGPT put a video out along with Be My Eyes of a gentleman who is blind with his guide dog in London and was able to, in real time, use the
just
camera on the phone to tell him where the taxi was and when to flag it down. So we were hoping to actually even see that by now, but I guess it's not here yet. But we're
Mhm.
hoping soon.
the good news is with this app, when they do enhance it, it will be for both iOS and Android, which is
Mhm.
nice to see because it's usually one or the other on most of these launches. Uh, it, I did read somewhere that they're looking into launching probably in the first quarter of 2025, which is exciting.
Oh, that
So,
is.
yeah.
That is. I'm excited to see that. I mean,
Yes.
we were all excited when Seeing AI, was on Android this year. So that was, actually, it was December of 23, right at the beginning of December this time last year.
I think
Yes.
they, I,
But in all honesty, it kind of felt like this year because all that time blurred together.
Right.
I think they do it for a specific show. I'm not, there's a show that happens in January, and I think they
Yeah.
always push for that show launch. So I
Well,
think it's first quarter.
well, thank you for the push for the next Tech Talk we're doing, everyone. So that's going to be the Consumer Electronics Show, which usually is where anything tech is introduced. And they do a lot of work for assistive technology there to try to promote it. Um, there was another one, me and you, Norbert, that we're talking about too, that came out this year, another AI
Mhm.
called Speakaboo, and that's by a group called Ben Vision.
And it's on iOS only too. That's the only
Got it.
downside of it.
Got it. So Speakaboo does scene description as well. Have you had a chance to use that one yet, Chanel?
I tried it for a little bit last night, but I didn't
Mhm.
get to do too much with it. However, I really enjoyed playing with it. I found that I don't know that it's my go-to app, but it was definitely a different experience. So I think it would depend on the setting I'm in on which app I would prefer.
Mhm.
But I kind of liked it for more casual, like, you're hanging out with your friends and you just kind of want to know what's going on in the space you're in. I kind of liked it more for that, based on what I played with last night.
Okay, well, that's a lot like Pi as well. It's another AI,
Yeah, it's a little more casual.
as well as the new Envision Ally, which is the one that's in beta.
I kind of felt like Envision Ally has the potential, though, to be more neutral. Like for me, there are certain apps that I feel like I use more in casual settings, and ones that I feel are a little more meaty. They have more meat and potatoes to them, so I can use them more in like work and education settings. More reliably, they give me more information, and things like that. And I feel like Envision Ally kind of straddles that line really nicely. I can use it for both, but I don't feel the same, at least currently, with what I tried with Speakaboo. I felt like it was definitely more of a casual use um, experience for me.
Okay. Well, we'll continue using it and talk about it here, and
Yeah,
get back to everybody
absolutely.
on it, and hopefully maybe even do a workshop on it. We're going to get to questions in a little bit. So I wanted to move on to the question everybody asks in 2024. We talking intelligence, Apple intelligence. What's going
Absolutely.
on? Where is it?
And we're all still asking.
It's coming.
Yes.
Right. No, so there's some writing tools. Um, Siri is not intelligent yet. It's getting there. You
She's getting
can now
smarter, though.
ask what?
She's getting smarter though. She's not
Yes,
intelligent, but she is getting smarter.
correct. It hasn't graduated yet. So it's getting there. I know that the people at Apple, the head of accessibility, has recently made some statements that they're committed to growing Apple Intelligence, and it's just we're waiting and seeing. And of course, last month we did a piece on the iPhone 16 and the iOS 18. So you can go back and watch that. We should have that available on the website. If not, we can always request us to send it to you if you wanted that. Anything on your end, Norbert, that you know about Apple
Not
Intelligence?
not from Apple Intelligence, but what has launched in the last week that's related for the Android users is ChatGPT's voice intelligence system, which is very similar to Siri. And that is launched. That is live now. And what it is, it's exactly like Siri would behave, where you click a button on your Android phone, and GPT would talk to you just like Siri would, but in more enhanced, full. You're like you're having an actual conversation with a person. It doesn't feel like you're talking to a computer, which is very scary because it's laughing too. It actually has features to make it more human-like. Um, but what it's done is it takes everything that you would state. For example, all the communication of asking a question, puts it in copy form for the screen reader for later if you need it. But also its ability to use your camera, its ability to provide support that's cross from the app on the phone to a Windows environment. And that's incredible to see because that's what Apple is doing on the do with Siri. And that's crossing it with multiple different technologies. So if you have it on your phone, you're going to have it on your desktop as well if you have an Apple desktop with Siri. So it's incredible to see this enhancement coming, and it's coming fairly fast because the next step to both of these technologies is not being completely dependent on the internet, which is extremely important because these
Right.
chips that they're putting into these new phones that are coming out in the future are AI chips that have some intelligence built into them already that they don't have to request internet data to provide that information. So you could be in a situation where you don't have great internet, but you could get as much information as possible from it.
Right. And the chips are just getting better.
And
Yeah,
what's also really exciting about this, I mean, it's exciting all within itself, but it's also exciting that this means you're getting more Apple to Android competitiveness within your ability to choose as a consumer, as a blind or visually impaired consumer, of what model of phone you choose. You're no longer kind of boxed into, oh, we only have one good option or we only have two good options. Now it's starting to branch out and say, okay, now we might have four or five or six really good options. And the more that this technology expands, the more options we're going to have. And that's
exactly.
the goal here, is to make sure we get choices. We're no longer just saying relegated to the corner and saying, here, be happy with what you've got.
Yeah, and I have a high price for one of them, and you're stuck in that from the
Right.
community's point is a price for some of these technologies is really high from one competitor, but if you have multiple competitors, well, they fight against each other and the price goes down. That's
Exactly.
and that
Which is
makes it
what I've been saying a lot about, even within the like the refreshable braille displays. That is, I think, in my opinion, the biggest drawback is that there's not enough major competition amongst themselves. So it stays in that super high price range.
exactly.
So let's pivot a little bit towards navigation technologies, because I know you wanted to mention some of the things that are either available now or going to be coming out soon.
Yes,
Chanel, I know you tried one device called the biped.
yes. So the exciting thing is that with AI being what it is, has come out, it's really sparked innovation across the board. And that has translated into navigation and mobility for us. So, we're getting more interest in robotics and engineering, and how is this going to help us? How can they market the same concepts into navigating for us? And so Biped has kind of taken that and run with it. And they're using the same technology that is used in cars for and they're for their navigation systems, and they're using that on kind of like a little harness or vest, if you will, with cameras, and it's got haptic feedback, and they're already talking about the next generation of it, of adding in more of the AI features so that you can get more real-time information from those cameras of saying, hey, there's a bike moving from your left toward, and the camera notices it, but what it does is it notices the motion. However, if they have AI built into it, it will then be able to say, hey, there's a bike coming at you. It gives you more context of how you might react rather than just knowing something is coming. And so I'm really excited because getting to use the biped and feel it, it was already a really exciting experience. I got so much more information than I have from any other tactile navigation system I've used to date so far. It is my favorite, in spite of the fact that it's kind of the bulkiest. But just knowing where it's going with the AI has me really excited. I can't wait to see where they go.
I know they have the AI on there already taking photos where you can ask questions about scenes. And I do know
Yes.
the AI is going to be more of a predictive model, I believe, of predicting when you're coming up to something, those obstacles, and what takes precedence first.
Yes.
Is it
And
that
someone asked, it's called biped that we're
Mhm.
talking about right now.
But then there's some other things coming out too, like glidance.
Yes.
I think
And that's one of those. So here's the thing. Within navigation and mobility, and I want to say this to everyone, everyone has their own preferences. Some people are dog users, some people are cane users, some people don't want the technology, and whatever you like is absolutely okay. There's no shame in what you choose. However, I do want to say that if you're choosing to look into these technology ones, still make sure that you have a strong sense of orientation and mobility. You still need that training. You cannot just rely on technology alone. That is not safe. It is certainly not developed enough for that. Please be cautious. I just really have to say that because this, like the guidance and the WeWalk and all of those that are coming out, they have some really amazing features, but they're just not meant for you to rely on them alone, as standalone features.
correct. You have to rely on your own, your own skills, your own orientation mobility skills.
Yeah.
Definitely. So some of the others that are coming out too, as you mentioned, you just mentioned WeWalk, the WeWalk, the
Yes.
second generation. So that's a smart cane. They're currently
Yes.
taking pre-orders in it. I have seen it work. I don't think you have seen it yet, Chanel.
I haven't seen it in person,
Right.
but I have seen some live demos like online that they've done.
Mhm.
And I have to say, I'm very, very hopeful for the new sensors and stuff that have been put in it, because for any of us who've used the WeWalk original, that was kind of a lot of our biggest struggle. So I'm really, really hopeful for the newest model.
Right. And then just for anyone who's here, I know we have people outside of New York City from here, but if anyone has noticed, another one that we've been seeing pop up around the city is Navalens. So
Which
Navalens
is
is
cool.
a colorful sort of, it's a QR code but mixed of colors. And if you're using their app, the Navalens app, you just pick up your phone, and as it sees it automatically from far away and odd angles, and it gives you information. It gives you orientation information. So it doesn't give you step-by-step navigation, but it at least gives you your surroundings. So here in New York City, the MTA has a pilot program where they've been putting it on some of the subways and some of the bus lines.
And you can even find it on products now as well.
Right, you can find it on Kellogg's
Cheerios.
products.
Yeah.
Correct.
It's not on Kellogg's products and food products, on makeup. There a lot of European companies, for example, Nivea, and food companies that are providing that within their consumer goods. So it's really incredible to see adaptation going so fast, especially from companies that are from the European market and providing it to the U.S. market. It's really incredible
Right.
to see.
So I think you're
Mhm.
going to start seeing that in more cities and in your supermarkets. Again, it's like a QR code, but it's colorful. And what's amazing about it is that you just your phone's camera sees it and it just immediately,
Hmm.
instantly gets the information,
It
which is
requires
great.
no focus from you, to
No.
be
Right.
clear on that.
Right.
So if you're like for me with absolutely no vision, I can do it. And it doesn't take me 5 minutes. I simply lift my camera, and the moment my camera even comes within range of it in any capacity, whether it's sideways, upside down, left, right, doesn't matter, it takes it.
Yeah, it's using a multi-perspective technology, which is a little more adaptive than QR code, where QR codes are very specific in patterns. This one's using multi-adaptive, like a facial expression
Yeah.
to tell what it is, which is really
And
neat.
sorry, I believe you said too, Brian, that this year they added in the ability to layer in a QR code within that NaviLens code, correct?
Correct. They are. And some people can get free codes for that, like a restaurant can make one of a menu, and that way you can use the Navalens app and you immediately get right to a website. And I like it on the bus because it tells me when the next bus is coming.
Well, that's always nice to know.
Right. I just want to mention quickly because I do want to get into a little bit of Reddit, and I know I could see
Yeah.
people urgent for questions too. I definitely know that. Just some of the new magnification wearables that have come out this year, just to let people know about them. These are usually either open designs or closed designs like VR goggles. eSight Go has come out recently. That is a wearable magnification device. It's does have a battery that hangs around the neck, and it looks like a big pair of sunglasses. Then there is another one that came out called Maggie Vision. Maggie Vision, Maggie, and Maggie. I know that we had Maggie on here earlier. It wasn't named after her, but it's a VR goggles, and it is the only wearable magnification device that actually uses an iPhone camera. Most of these, if they do use a phone, it's always connected to an Android phone. And then the other one I wanted to mention is Idaptic. They came out with their sixth generation. So Idaptic 6. And what they've included in their number 6 version is AI. And it's called Ask Ivy. And they have a little camera in there, and you can use scene description through the wearable magnifier. So I just wanted to mention some of the new things that have recently come out in 2024, and we're probably going to see some advancements just of those devices and others in 2025. So, learning a lot about these things is where do you go? Where do you find them? Places like here, I have my resources too, and one of those great places is Reddit. And that's why I really wanted Norbert to speak a little bit on Reddit to you guys, specifically about our blind site, because Norbert started that. So this is why we're here today, Norbert. So, can you explain first what, in case people don't know, what is Reddit? And then when did you start and how did you get started?
What is Reddit? Reddit is a giant message board, and it was created to friend Nimilid, to have people join a community, and they could go to a specific community that's related to them. So what Reddit is, provides users from, let's say if you're from Spain, for example, you could go to a subreddit just for Spain users. If you are into, let's say, if music, you could go to a music subreddit. So that everything has a specific home, and one of those homes is Are Blind. And uh, to when did it get started? Around 2010, 2011. I was working for an Ability One center called Industries for the Blind, and I had a bunch of coworkers that I worked with who were visually impaired, that had no place to communicate, and I was kind of uh, well, what about Facebook or what about this? And some people didn't want to be on Facebook. They didn't want to be in those social media platforms. So I'm like, okay, let me create one. And that's more, it could be anonymous. You don't have to be a user. You don't even have to register. You could just be a what they call a lurker, which is just looking through the pages and never participating in anything. In this community I created, started with about 20 people, ended up with 50, then 100, and then 500, then 5,000. I think Dr. Brian, when we last met in when I was in this Streets for Blind, it was like at 7,000. I was more than excited. I'm like, this is incredible. And I never thought it was gonna get bigger than that. But eventually it went to 10,000, 15,000, 20, and now it's almost at 30,000 members. Uh, and then it got news and press because of what the community provides and what it had changed people's lives. So one thing this community did and what inspired me is it gave everybody an individual a voice, a megaphone, and that was very specific. Because one thing that I always feel that the internet doesn't do real well is have other people's um, opinions, maybe, but ideas have a bigger space to for them to speak in. And a lot of times the influencers in whatever you're into kind of take that megaphone away. And what Reddit does, it gives every individual person their own megaphone. And if users want to participate, they can. And that's an incredible thing. Um, what biggest challenge is it's a big social network. So there's a lot of challenges to come with it. There's people that relate to certain people, but there's also the challenges of people that are, I call it technology agnostic, where they're new um, to to not in the platform, but to new to visual impairment with technology. And so, for example, users that are new to VoiceOver, or new to TalkBack, or new to NVDA. And what this community did is provide support for these new users and people that, hey, I have the same type of issue, or I have the same vision loss, and then provide that communication for those users. The other thing that did, which was this made this actually made my year, I think, in 2022 or 2023. I never stated who I was outside of Reddit. I never said who I was in any conference that I ever went to or any type. And for the first time last year, I actually stated who I was. And I had teachers from multiple blind schools across the country come up to me and say thank you for providing them technology for the young kids to learn how to do math with a screen reader, which was incredible. I never thought I just post something and didn't think twice about it, but they were so uh, grateful for it, and it just made me feel like a rock star right away. Just, but
No, you are, Norbert. You really
You
have
definitely should.
you've really created a great resource for the community. And if anyone here has not been on it, I mean, it's a great place to go look things up. I go
ask
there,
questions.
yeah, ask questions. But even if you have a question, look first, maybe that discussion has come up, and then see
Mhm.
what you can add in as well. I go there frequently to look things up.
Me too.
Yeah.
I'm a lurker.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's. I heard your little laugh there. I'm like, oh, found one. there's
Yep,
there's so
that's
many.
me.
What
Uh,
what do you think is the most interesting like thread that kind of is, or the largest one, or the longest going
well,
one?
there's a couple that are massive, but I think the ones that are grateful for support, and those are my
Okay.
favorite. The reason is because there's so many people that relate, and the the community itself has other people that can relate to what they're going through, and it's incredible to see that in live, but also you see that in a historical way. Also, people have amazing skills. Uh, there's people that such a friend of mine now. His name, again, this is on the internet, so they have unique names. But his name is Old Man Fire. His real name is Casey, but what he did is write stories for people to read, and they're incredible stories but he's visually impaired, so he gives an enhanced version of those stories where people could visualize and understand what the scene and what he's trying to provide. And that's an enhancement that a lot of places don't provide. Uh, so those are the ones that hit me the most and provide me the most. But the other one that took off on its own is also how big of a community it is, not just on Reddit, but globally, and how impactful our blind has been to accessibility as well. Because the community itself exploded last year as well, with Reddit having some accessibility issues and took it to the next level, which was really incredible to see.
No, it is a positive place and a place where people are very
Mhm.
supportive. You don't have a lot of haters, where
No,
you can find that on social media, especially with like Facebook and things like that.
correct. And we have
And
moderators too.
Yeah, yeah, you have to. You have
yeah,
to
and I
keep it a
gotta
safe
say,
space.
for visually impaired people, I think most of us who are um, going through it, we can honestly say that the biggest struggle we face is isolation. We don't have the kind of community like a lot of other disabled communities have, where there's like large groups of them just congregating together everywhere you go. We unfortunately are very spread out.
Yeah.
And unless we live in very specific places where those groups happen to have, like NFB has a big community, like if you happen to be in one of those, you're lucky. But otherwise, the rest of us tend to be pretty isolated. And
Mhm.
Reddit, especially particularly our blind, really opened that up on the internet for the first time for most of us to say, hey, look, here's a space where we can go on and say, there's someone out there just like me. There's someone I can
Exactly.
finally ask that question, that burning question that nobody but someone like me is going to understand. And so for someone like me who's actually blind and visually impaired, I say thank you, because we really, really needed it. It was a desperate need, a niche that needed to be filled. But I also want to give you a little story that you may not know, which is actually, I know of two people who got hired because of Our Blind. That
That's
they were
incredible.
actually told they were not going to be hired because the employer did not believe that they would be capable of fulfilling their duties. And they sent them to Our Blind to look and see what other blind people, not just themselves, are capable of doing. And after having looked through Our Blind and the amazing posts and things that people are sharing of their
Hmm.
capabilities, they were willing to give them the chance that they were not previously willing to do. And they wouldn't have had that opportunity if a database like Our Blind had not been available for them to point at.
And I've
So,
seen posts like that, like those. I do respond to some of them.
mm-hmm,
Uh, I am one of, so one thing, Chanel, you and Dr. Brian, of course, knows already, is if I don't relate, I don't participate on Our Blind. So if I can't relate to something, unless it's a question for technology, I usually don't participate, but those I do. The employment ones I always do, because I understand what people could go through, so I try to
mm-hmm.
help them. That made my day. You just made my day. That
That's
or my
great.
my month. It's December. It's the
Well, next
holidays.
I want to get to something that you hold dear as well, which is web accessibility, which you work in every day. So, more companies are thinking about it, implementing it. Governments are getting involved, but Europe, I mean, they're just way ahead. So,
Oh yeah.
can you give us the rundown, Norbert, for everybody of what's just happening in web accessibility?
So just so everybody understands what about accessibility is, what I do, I'm an accessibility specialist, and what I do is go through websites and provide solutions to make sure they're screen reader friendly. The color contrast for users is above certain levels. The navigation is supportive in multiple different platforms, so iOS and Android and Windows and Mac, and also for technologies, assistive technologies, voiceover, and so forth. So I do it, what they call audits on web pages and provide that information to developers and so forth. So one thing with accessibility, and that's moving in lightning speed, is in Europe, a new law is coming into play in June of next year. And what this law is going to require all companies that provide any type of service, utilities, for example, must be fully accessible to all users. Um, and it's going to go across Europe. It's going to start in June, and then it's looking like it's going to go. The U.S. is trying to adapt that, especially in California, as being the first one to move it forward. But what it's going to do is, if a company does not follow and make sure their technology is accessible, the laws start taking away in their profits. So just like the privacy laws that took over in a couple of years ago in 2014 in Europe, and they cost thousands and millions of dollars to companies that break privacy laws. These certain laws are now going to also cause, for accessibility, if they are not accessible, thousands and millions of dollars. And in some cases, uh, as Dr. Brian knows, Ireland took it to the next level, and it's really incredible to see this. But Ireland took it to if do you mind if I mention that? If
No,
that's
go
okay.
right ahead. Yeah, it's
Okay.
real. It's what's happening.
Yeah, Ireland took it to the next level by putting an additional law on the books, and it's been passed. It's a national law that if a site doesn't follow accessibility, they're given a time frame to take care of this accessibility issue. If they do not follow that time frame, they will start getting prison time.
Wow.
Mhm.
And it's not, a day or a week of prison. It's 6 months to 2 years, depending on how long they took to not provide accessible versions of their technology. This is on the books in Ireland. You can read about it if you Google it. It's just Ireland accessibility law, and it's from 6 months to 2 years in prison, and it's for chief operators of companies. This is not the guy that's listening to the phone call. It's for the management and even higher up the food chain of a company that's going to be responsible for this. So people are taking it very seriously in Europe, and hopefully that level of policy making is we are starting to see it in California because it's usually the starter for a lot of laws in the U.S. But we're
Mhm.
starting to see it go through the process in California right now. The U.S. is also, as of August of this year, in regards to accessibility, is now making all municipalities, all counties, all states be fully accessible by 2027 and other dates, depending on their population, for everything. And that means for all communication on the web, for documentation, and for historical documentation in the future. So that one has a little bit of a leeway, but this all has to be fully accessible. There's a criteria, so if they're under 100,000 in population, they have a little bit more time. But cities like New York and Chicago and LA have to meet a very specific deadline, or they start getting in trouble with the federal government because the federal government pushed this, and this is everything: libraries, city halls,
Thanks for the
all the way
update
down.
too. Thanks for the update and all the work you're doing, Norbert. Definitely. It's keeping you busy, I'm sure.
Exciting.
Yes. So we did want to get to questions. And I just want to mention a few housekeeping things and get to questions. That don't forget to also listen to Lighthouse Guild's podcast on Tech and Vision with Dr. Cal Roberts, where he discusses big tech ideas that are discussed. If anyone is interested in any one of Lighthouse Guild's telesupport programs, you can email Carly at Feldsteinc, that's FELSTEINC at lighthouseguild.org. And we'll be back next month to talk about the Consumer Electronics Show. So I'm excited about that. And I'm hoping to see some new and innovative things, or just even see what advancements that some of the older technologies have. And looking forward to 2025 and more web accessibility. And thank you, Norbert. I really appreciate it. Anyone also can email me at wolinski@lighthouseguild.org. That's Wolinski, WOLYNSKI, letter B, at lighthouseguild.org. So I always like to say in my name, wherever you think there's a Y, put an I. Wherever you think there's an I, the Y, put an I, the other way around. So thank you, everybody. And we can stop the recording so that way we can do some questions.